There have been countless times when a task I set out to do was not completed or accomplished in the manner I originally planned. Generally, this is because I course-corrected along the way and followed an entirely different path or achieved an entirely different or maybe even an unexpected outcome. These were rarely failures. So my definition of failure is pretty straightforward. I define failure this way. Failure is simply not trying. It's that simple. Remember that quote from Theodore Roosevelt, "Don't catch yourself living in that gray twilight." That is my definition of failure. I learned about failure early in my life. I failed often in a myriad of activities. Failure when I was growing up was just something else that happened to me during the day. Now, it sounds odd, but I've kind of got used to it. And not that I accepted it or enjoyed it or wanted it to happen again, but it just became not that big a deal for me. In chapter 1 of the book, Leadership U, I discuss humility. And something I learned over the years that was evident in the outliers I have interviewed is that humility allows you to take risks. Now, let me explain. I witnessed this again and again. People with large egos who are arrogant were afraid to be involved in or do anything at which they may fail because they felt if they failed, they'd expose this and other people may judge them for it. I've noticed again and again, people with large egos tend to be very insecure, and that any failure cracks right through this veneer of arrogance, allowing others to see them for who they really are, and they're afraid of that. People with large egos are generally risk-averse because of this fear of failure. Conversely, humility allows you to experiment, to explore new areas without the fear of failure because, unlike the arrogant, you don't fear that you will somehow be exposed if things don't work out. The take-home point is this. If you can stay humble, you'll be exposed to and experience many more adventures than someone who is arrogant. Here's how to stay humble. Read books and stories about really amazing people. The highest achievers I've ever met are all humble, and it's awfully easy for me to have a reality check of humility since I've accomplished and will accomplish far less than any of them. A long time ago, I read a quote by Thomas Edison, who, while being interviewed about developing the light bulb, told a reporter, "I haven't failed. I know 10,000 ways how not to make a light bulb." This is exactly how I approach failure. I throw my ego aside and acknowledge mistakes I've made along the way, make course corrections to accommodate for what I've learned, and then just simply move on. It sounds easy, but it actually is easy. Once you get your head around this and start approaching life in this manner, you'll see that it's incredibly liberating. So here's what I've learned about failure over the years. Number one, you learn something. If you keep your eyes open, you will learn early on what not to do the next time. So it's basically just a learning opportunity. And since I love to learn, hey, failure's not that bad. Number two, if you fail fast, you waste less money and time because early failures are often less costly than the later ones. And since I hated wasting money, failure's not that bad. Number three, when I fail, I usually do it with some panache. I don't fail. I fail with vigor. Speaking plainly, I do it in such a way that it generally makes for a great story. And since I love a good story where I'm the butt of the joke, failure's not that bad. Finally, and probably the most important thing I learned again and again, that if you keep your eyes open, more often than not, there's always something awaiting you right around the corner that would not have happened but for the fact that you failed. Thus, if something better is coming along the path, you know what? Failure's not that bad.